Start tonight's meeting with a roll call.
Council members Rolfing,
Here.
Aguilar,
Here.
Anderson,
Here.
Brown,
Here.
Entenmann,
Here.
Erpenbach, here, Jamison,
Here.
Karski.
Here.
Sioux Falls, all your city councilors are here, and we're pleased that they are. We're going to start tonight's meeting with an invocation, as we always do. So blessed to have Pastor Dave Johnson from First Lutheran Church here in Sioux Falls. After Pastor Dave gives the invocation, I'd like you to remain standing for a special moment of silence that I'll explain later. And then after that, if you would also stay standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. But to start off tonight's important meeting, we do have Pastor Dave here. Pastor Dave, please.
Well, I just want to say, I know if Roger Broughton was giving the invocation, he'd give a speech. I want to say I'm of that generation, sometimes thought of as being against everything, but I'm saying tonight, go for it. It's an important night for you. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we are all aware that we have inherited so much sacrifice, hard work, thoughts and ideas of those who have gone before. We have all drunk from wells that we didn't dig, and we've warmed ourselves by fires we didn't build. Now we have the responsibility for future generations, and we pray that you will bless this community, all the business people, all the schools, the hospitals, all who make this town go. We pray for the city council. We thank you for their sacrifice, for their interest, for their skills, and we ask that you bless them and give them all kinds of wisdom. Thank you for Mayor Mike and everybody at this table. Now we ask for your blessing upon all of us, thinking of those tonight who are sorrowing over the loss of policemen, those who guard us, keep us safe. Thank you for them and our firefighters, and bless all of us as we look forward to improving life for ourselves and for those who come after us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pastor Dave did mention two folks that are no longer with us, and it is with that in mind that we would like to ask for a moment of silence in respect and support of the two police officers that passed away in the line of duty, not in Sioux Falls, but in Rapid City. They were two men killed again in the line of duty. Their names, Officer James Ryan McCandless, only 28 years old. And then Officer Nick Armstrong, also of Rapid City, who was only 27. There's another officer, Tim Doyle, who was only 39, who is hospitalized from the event that happened out in Rapid. Of course, he remains in our thoughts and our prayers. But if we could just have a moment in silence for Officer McCandless, Officer Armstrong, and certainly the family and friends that love them, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, David. I'd like to start with tonight's consent agenda. Council, any changes to the consent agenda or any motions?
Move to approve. Karski.
Second, Brown.
Councilor Karski's made a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, seconded by Councilor Brown. If there's no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you. Moving on to tonight's regular agenda. Any changes or additions or motions tonight?
Move approval, Aguilar.
Second Erpenbach.
Councilor Aguilar, there's been a motion to approve tonight's regular agenda, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor
I'd
Bond.
like to make a motion to amend the regular agenda by moving item 15 to the location after public input, so it would actually be before item 3.
Second, Brown.
Very good. Councilor Erbenbach's made a motion to revise tonight's regular agenda by moving item 15 after the public input. It was seconded by Councilor Brown. Any further discussion? Very good. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
That has also passed 8-0. We now have a new regular agenda has been amended. Any further changes? Could I have a motion to approve tonight's?
Move to approve, Entenmann. Second, Anderson.
Councilor Entenmann's made that motion to approve tonight's amended regular agenda, and it is seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. If there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Thank you. We can now move on with the rest of tonight. This is a great opportunity for public input. You can address your city council, the mayor, on any topic that you deem fit. We would ask that if it is a topic that is going to come up later on in the agenda, such as with the event center vote, for example, or any other topic, we'd ask you to wait then. But if anybody would like to address the council now, please come forward. Just address the council with your first name, and if you could keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, we would certainly appreciate it. Is there anyone who'd like to address the council? Welcome. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and council members.
Good evening.
I wasn't going to come up here. I got 4 calls after midnight about this event center, and it does pertain to the event center, but I'm going to have to leave early,
That's okay.
if I may.
Sir, if you could just state your name, please. we'd
I.L.
appreciate it.
Weideman from Sioux Falls.
Thank you.
I have in front of me the resolution and something that you're going to vote on this evening. It's the voting for the event center, or for us to vote on the event center. And towards the end, there's a sentence that I spoke to Mr. Anderson Jr. about. There will be no new taxes, no increase in property taxes, no increase in sales tax rates authorized by the current city council to pay for this project. Does that mean that after you folks have departed your offices, that another city council, another mayor, can vote to put taxes into the event center? This is a wide open sentence. It does not clarify that. I'd like to see that addressed. Then another thing that was brought to my attention that was mentioned this afternoon, money was given to the Visitors Bureau, or they've got another name for it, I call it the Visitors Bureau, to promulgate the event center. Why is that being done before we even know if event center is going to be built? It's assumed it is. The other thing is, I always hear you, Mr. Mayor, and so many other people state that there's all these surveys being taken. I do not know one person in this city, attorneys, doctors, physicians, people at the center, the health club that I belong to, that are for it. They've never been interviewed. They have never been asked the question, would they vote for it? That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Weiderman, thank you. And we realize you're going to be gone later on, but I've taken some notes. We'll address your comments during that event center
I
time.
have a computer. I'll be reading it.
Very good. Have a great night. Thank you for being here tonight. Mr. Stenga?
Oh, you guys have missed me. I see everybody laugh. I just want to address one issue.
Sure.
It was in the newspaper this morning. The state taps old law to tax food for the poor. I would like to see the mayor's office, I'd like to see the city council on the phones talking to our governor and stating that, let's put it off until next session, let's get this taken care of. You know, the churches are doing what they're supposed to do right now. They're providing for the people. And let's don't stop it. And you can't say it enough. We have to get up and we got to voice our opinion. I made some phone calls today, not saying that does anything, but Mayor, they might listen to you a little bit more than they listen to me. I just don't want it to come down a little bit further and start taxing rummage sales.
Ms. Dingan, thank you and welcome back. Folks, anybody else who'd like to address the council on any topic? Yes, sir, welcome.
Hi, my name is Ray Larson.
Mr. Larson,
I'm from
welcome.
Garrettson, South Dakota, and maybe I'm not in line. I'm the number 13. Will that come up later?
Yes.
Okay. Does it come up in? It's about mowing.
Yes, number 13 will come up, sir.
Oh, okay, then.
We'd certainly appreciate it if you could wait till then.
I will. No, that's fine.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah,
and
thank you
welcome
very
to Sioux
much.
Falls.
Thank you.
Right. Folks, anybody else on a topic that's not on tonight's regular agenda? Well, very good. We'll continue on then with item number 3.
Item number
I'm sorry. Item number 15. Thank you. Thank you.
Item number 15 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a conditional gifting agreement for a future cash gift derived from the proceeds of a lake home to construct an educational center and a garden at the Mary Jo Wagner Arboretum, an East Sioux Falls historic site.
Welcome, Don.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Don Kearney with Parks and Recreation. We're certainly very pleased to present this item to you this evening. This conditional gifting agreement between the City of Sioux Falls and the Sioux Falls Area Community Foundation was really made possible by the outstanding support and generosity of Judy Jasper. Judy's with us tonight and will be making a few remarks following my presentation as well as Candy Hansen's. Judy has established the Mabel and Judy Jasper Charitable Fund with the Sioux Falls Area Community Foundation, and the purpose of that fund is to support the construction of an educational center and an education garden at the Mary Jo Wagner Arboretum and East Sioux Falls Historic Site. The gifting agreement before you between the city and the Community Foundation will allow the Community Foundation to reimburse the city 50% of the cost to construct an educational center and educational garden, and any remaining balance would be applied to future Arboretum master plan improvements. Payments to the cities for these improvements are conditioned upon the educational center being named the Mabel and Judy Jasper Educational Center and the education garden being named the Jasper Family Garden. It's the intent of the agreement that the naming rights of the educational center apply to any replacement buildings if in compliance with law at the time, and then due to the naming conditions set forth in this agreement, it does require City Council approval. The Parks and Recreation Board has reviewed the agreement and unanimously recommends approval to the Mayor and the City Council members. As a reminder, it was not long ago where we stood before you with a similar conditional gifting agreement when the Wagner family provided us with a significant gift to name the Arboretum and in turn jumpstart the Arboretum project. With this proposed gift before you, Judy has positioned the Arboretum Society and the city to be able to continue to build out the Arboretum master plan in a very big way. And for that, we're truly grateful to Judy for her gift. Candy Hansen, as always, has been instrumental in facilitating this gift along with many others. Candy is the president and CEO of the Sioux Falls Area Community Foundation, and Candy would like to come forward and make a few remarks at this time.
Welcome, Candy.
Mr. Mayor, council members. Thank you for the courtesy of moving up in the agenda. We do appreciate that. We know you have a big and very important meeting tonight, but this is a very big and important gift that one of our donors has come to us and asked us to facilitate. Judy Jasper is with me. Judy is a school teacher, a retired school teacher. She and her mom were both school teachers, and her mom was widowed when Judy was just 4 years old. They moved to Sioux Falls, and Judy taught for 38 years in the Sioux Falls public schools. Her very favorite schools were Franklin and Terry Redland. It's in northeast Sioux Falls, and an area that's not quite as, well, the families don't always have as many advantages as other families in other parts of the city. So it became Judy's dream that she would be able to create a legacy for the children and the families in that area. And she's dreamed about it for many years. And a few years ago, when we started working on the Arboretum, we found a perfect match. The Arboretum is an educational area that can be enjoyed by all of the families in Sioux Falls, but it's located in northeast Sioux Falls. And it once contained, in the old city, a schoolhouse building. So it became Judy's dream to be able to recreate that schoolhouse as a contemporary classroom for children who will visit the Arboretum. And again, to name that educational center after her mom and herself, both career educators, and the garden after the Jasper family. Judy is securing this gift with a life estate of her lake home at Lake Madison. When Judy no longer uses that property, the Community Foundation will sell it and reimburse the city for the cost of developing the educational center and the garden and other phases of the Arboretum Master Plan. We really appreciate the opportunity to present this to you. It is a privilege to know people such as Judy Jasper who want to use what they've accumulated in their own lifetime through their own hard work to give back to the city and its residents. I'm going to let Judy come up and say a few words now.
Thank you. Thank you to the mayor and to the council. I'd like to start from the beginning, if I may. I was on the board in the very beginning, and it's been Carl's dream and our dream to develop the Arboretum on East Sioux Falls. And we have just finished phase 1, and in phase 2, we would like to do the school project. And I want to talk about the school project briefly. The old L-shaped school, in the small part of the L will be a school of the 1920s and 30s, and in the larger part of the L will be a school of today. And then because of where the school will be standing out there, we're going to make a walkout basement that will serve as a storm shelter. But the other reason that I wanted it developed that way is that in most cases when they bring out the buses with the children, there's usually 3 classrooms, so we can place one group in the old part of the school, one in the new part, and one in the walkout basement, and then they can rotate. Mother taught 50 years, I taught 40, and this would be a dream come true. I'd like to also tie it in with, we've had children out there for Arbor Day, and we've taken children from Terry Redland. This past year, because of phase 1, we went to a school at Brandon, a school at Harrisburg, and one in Sioux Falls to plant trees for Arbor Day. So the public is learning more about it all the time. The educational board are retired teachers and principals that are teaching and principals that are working right now. And we meet once a month on developing the curriculum for out there. Now it can be run in 2 phases. It can be where it's like the outdoor campus where we have a teacher there full time, or it can be where the children and the teacher does the teaching that comes on the bus with them. So that, needs to be decided. The other phase of this is that we're teaching the wildlife out there, the trees, the flowers, the grasses, and these are all very, very interesting for the children, and we've had tremendous response from many teachers. It also ties in down the road with the bike trail leading to Brandon and then down to the Arboretum, and again when the bike trail comes out from East 10th Street. And then in turn it will tie in with Arrowhead Park. So we're putting two wonderful parks together there. So it would be my desire, if you choose to vote for this, which I hope you will, that we could start building on this next spring to be completed so that hopefully we can use it late next fall. And the other thing I would like to do is each garden that is developed, I would like to put 2 benches in each garden in memory of my father. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. I've got 2 former students up here, so. So your grade will depend on it.
And Judy, I'd also like them to raise their hands before they speak.
Susan's one and Kenny's the other one.
Very good. Judy, if you could remain up here, we'd appreciate it. But
Okay.
Don, are there any other comments, Don Kearney, in regards to this?
No, I think we're good.
Very good. And Judy, if you would stay, we'd appreciate it. Council, any questions or comments? Yes, Councilor Urbanbach.
Mr. Mayor, in deepest gratitude to Judy and her family, I would move approval of this.
Second Aguilar.
There has been a motion to approve number item 15, which is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a conditional gifting agreement for a future cash gift derived from the proceeds of a lake home to construct an educational center and a garden at Mary Jo Wagner Arboretum and East Sioux Falls Historic Site. And it was seconded as well. Is there any further discussion? Yes.
One
Councilor Anderson
comment,
Jr.
please. Judy, I just want to thank you and your family for your dedication to the children of Sioux Falls.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It would be an honor because it's a way of Mother and I giving back to the families and the children and the grandchildren of the lives that touched us in our teaching careers of 90 years.
Council, I hear no other comments. Let's vote on this, shall we, City Council? Roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
With pleasure, yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
On behalf of the City of Sioux Falls, Judy, I want to let you know there's been a unanimous vote by the City Council to enter into this agreement. And with that in mind, if you wouldn't mind, we would like to give you a standing ovation and recognize your friend.
I'll tell one short story on my mother. When Mother came to Sioux Falls in 1965, we were driving down 8th Street, and I said, would you like to stop and have a hamburger at McDonald's? And she said, do we have enough money?
Love it.
So it's developed from that. So thank you all. I appreciate it deeply.
We look forward to working with you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You bet. Item number 3.
Item number 3 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by amending certain time restrictions and expanding the requirements for abatement of nuisance conditions.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Alicia Klur of the Health Department. Last week, we introduced language to support enhancement to our nuisance abatement ordinance. These changes are to strengthen the intent of the ordinance language, protect the public's health, and close certain loopholes for those who chronically accumulate waste. Those enhancements include adding the following language to Section 1953, Abatement by City. The first language addition is the City Health officer may shorten the time frame for removal or correction if the health officer determines the nuisance items present a significant risk to the public health if not removed or corrected within 14 days. If the city health officer determines a shortened time frame is appropriate in a particular case, the shortened time frame shall be set forth in the notice. The second language addition is as follows. Any additional nuisance conditions not previously observed or that may have been added to the property after the city's inspection must also be removed or corrected within the time frame specified in the notice of violation. And thirdly, since our last presentation, there is also a request to change the word commission to city council. To provide some additional detail for you, there are two scenarios that we hope to address with these proposed changes. One is that there are certain instances where we need to issue a shorter abatement schedule in order to protect the public health. Examples include rotting garbage, animal carcasses, and refrigerators and freezers. Secondly, we want to clarify that all nuisances within an area identified that are present in the original notice of violation or whether they're added at a later date should both be rectified at the end of the time determined on the notice of violation. For instance, if a property owner abates a portion of a nuisance but throughout the course of 14 days additional items accumulate, that those should also be abated at the end of the notice of violation time. We want to emphasize that we do not anticipate changes to our procedures, how we enforce the code, or how the public will perceive these changes. We rely on other ordinance language, for instance, Section 19.3, to address times when we would like to issue something less than 14 days. Also, when we have an item that's not previously observed, we address that. We notify in the original letter notice of violation, we do detail that by the end of this notice violation, all nuisances should be abated. And finally, with this change, we do know that any ordinance change has the potential to affect the public, so we did want to vet this as much as possible. We brought this to Public Service Committee in July, and we also did sit down with the Sioux Falls multi-unit housing representatives to hear their concerns. We feel that we have a long history of working well with good property owners. Property owners that do clean up their property in advance of the 14 notice are always welcome to call us and arrange a time at their convenience that we would come to their property and re-inspect it and release them from the notice of violation, and that is detailed in that notice of violation letter. And our department is very proactive with letters and phone calls and checking properties as we're out and about in the community, and our inspectors are very, very willing to provide extensions when they do see progress. And finally, if we can't come to common ground, the appeals process is available for citizens. So that is our presentation and our second reading for this evening.
Alicia, thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this item before the council has an opportunity? Yes, please come forward. Welcome.
Hi. My name is Wanda Venengay. I just have a question about this. Now, you have a 3-day notice for rotting garbage or 24 hours for refrigerators, right? And that's what you're proposing?
If you just answer your question, we'll certainly get you an answer.
That's what you're proposing. Now, how are you making that notice? Are you making it through the mail? So you mail it on a Friday afternoon and it arrives on somebody's doorstep on Monday and you're counting 1, 2, 3, boom, it's over? If you're going to make that short of a notice, you need to make your notification process quicker. You have landlords who have had to register their property. You have their telephone number. Any landlord who has rotting garbage doesn't want it there. They don't make daily trips past property, even weekly trips past property, but if something happens, they need to be notified. But to put it in the mail and expect the mail to deliver it and give them time to take care of it is not reasonable.
Okay. And are there other comments? Because we certainly want to address your comments.
Okay.
Any other comments?
No.
Alicia, would you mind responding to that, please? Thank you. And thanks for your comments. Thank you.
Sure, we do provide notification by mail, but we also put notices of violation on the property owner's door at the time that the violation is found.
Ma'am, come forward, please. And if you wouldn't mind just standing up here until we answer your questions, we'd appreciate that.
You're assuming that all property owners live on the property. They don't. There are landlords who don't live on the property. You're putting notice on the door of the person who committed the violation, and if they weren't going to commit it, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. They don't give a about the notice. If you really want it taken care of in a rental property, you have to contact the landlord. Right now, you're doing it by mail, which is very, very slow. You have landlords having to register their property. There's telephone numbers on there. If you really want it taken care of, you need to call them so they can address it immediately.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Alicia, any further comments on that?
No, certainly we're always willing to look for ways to facilitate additional communication. The 1 and the 3-day notices, regardless of if it's on the door or sent by mail, these are conditions we perceive to be a public health hazard. So a refrigerator left for kids to play in or a rotting carcass, it's appropriate that we clean these up as soon as possible.
Very good. Folks, is there anyone else who'd like to speak to this item? Very good. Council, any questions, comments? Yes, Councilor Karski.
I guess a question for the city attorney maybe, is there anything that constitutes legal notice? Any precedents as far as required by mail or phone? I mean, is phone acceptable as legal notice?
Well, Councilor Karski, I mean, that question is in terms of whether someone has notice of a lawsuit. That's kind of what I'm used to. But in terms of administrative enforcement actions like we're talking about here, I'm confident the courts would find that mailing that notice as well as posting it on the door would be sufficient.
But is a phone call acceptable?
That, again, you're getting into the differences between constructive notice, where a person should know based on the mailing and posting on the door, versus actual notice by a phone call. That would certainly be one more item to provide more notice in terms of what's sufficient. I think what we do now is sufficient, but certainly a phone call would just add to
The phone call would be the courtesy.
Correct.
Okay.
Councilor Brown.
For the health department, what's sufficient and legal is fine, but I agree with her that we need to be able to. That's one of the reasons we did rental registration. Can we not figure out a process that we can call the landlord?
I'm going to ask Luann Ford to come up and address this question.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Luann Ford, Public Health Manager for the Health Department, and I oversee this program for the Health Department. We do make informal phone calls. I think what the City Attorney is saying is that we have an informal notice where we can call people, but we also need the formal notice for enforcement. Am I correct in saying that? Yes. I think it's also important to note that some of the statistics that we've had in the existing process that we have given in the past year 151 3-day notices, and of those 151 notices, we only had to clean up 24 of them in the past year. So it is a process that's working. What we're asking for now is just to strengthen the ordinance on the enforcement end of it for when it doesn't work.
Yes, Councilor Ettiman.
Luann, one question here. You say 3 days for a mail notice. I know in business a lot of times, a lot of people, you talk to attorneys, you talk to bankers, 3 days is 3 business days. You look at a business week of 5 days versus 7 days. Is that how you look at it too? Or is it like if you mailed a notice on Friday, is the 3rd day on Monday then?
No, what we would do would be 3 business days.
So-
Right, and what we do is we hang the notice, as the lady mentioned, on the property so that the property owner is aware of the violation, but we also make every effort to notify the property owner, and if they are within the city limits of Sioux Falls, we will hang a letter on their property as well. If they are outside the city limits of Sioux Falls, of course, we're not able to do that, but we do allow that 3 days, and then the thing to keep in mind too is it's 3 days, but we're not there on the 4th day to pick things up. because we do have, I mean, the practical side of this is that we do have to make arrangements with the landfill to do that pickup. They have to make arrangements for staff and vehicles and get out there. And so the reality of it is it's eligible to be picked up within 3 days, and it's great when we can do it because the neighborhood suffers when we don't. But the reality of it is sometimes it does extend into a few days more than that.
Thank you.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Luann, the Multi-Housing Association had some minor issues with this. Have we cleaned those up to where they're happy with this ordinance?
Yes, we did have a meeting with them, and they did have some thoughts and some conversations with us regarding this, but they have not expressed any further concerns after we explained to them what the intent of the change is. And the intent of the change is not to change the way we operate, but just to strengthen what it is that we do.
Councilor Brown.
Luann, with the rental registration, have we collected email addresses too? Because obviously that'd be the quickest, fastest, most inexpensive way of contacting them.
That's a good question, and I don't know.
Councilor Mudd? Or Jill, do you have an answer to that question?
Well, or Ron Bell.
Alicia?
Ron Bell might as well.
If we don't have that, I would hope that we'd be working towards that through the next communications to those on the registration list, because that seems like a benefit to the city and to the property owners. And when we started that registration list, I don't imagine that email was quite as prolific.
Ron's shaking his head at me, so.
Okay.
Councilor Mudd.
Well, two things then. I'd like to address this just for a minute then. The challenge then is for a couple of different departments to work together, because rental registration is not a health department program. And then my concern about emails is that people change their email addresses all the time. And so, I mean, certainly do your best. But my main question then is for Luann to reiterate, what we're doing with this ordinance is just putting in words what you already do. Isn't that right? Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct. We use Chapter 19, Sub 3, which is a general statement about protecting the health of Sioux Falls, to do this work already. And what we're asking for is just a little bit more specific outline in ordinance to strengthen what it is that we do.
Thank you.
No. Ma'am.
I'm here on a bill that I'll discuss later, but I just wanted, as you guys were discussing
Ma'am,
it.
can I ask you, could you just state your name
Oh,
for the
Sheila
record?
Paring.
Thank you, Sheila.
I have a bill here that I'm going to discuss later, which on March 17th the letter came to my house with a 3-day cleanup notice, and on March 23rd, 4 business days later, at 11:21 in the morning, I have a bill from the landfill cleaning my property. So she says, you know, they don't do that in the 3 days. I have proof here that's not true. And I have been a landlord for about 14 years. I have owned 14 pieces of rental property. I've never received a phone call, and I get notices all the time. I have property on the north end, which is a problem area. I have 3 or 4 just this spring. I've never received a courtesy phone call, ever. They know me. I've had Luann out to my properties to help me explain to my tenants what needs to happen. She knows me. And this issue is a big one, and I think you need to really address it, because I'm going to pass this on to my tenants, and a lot of them are in housing, and it's just nobody wins in, you know, not working together, you know, these charges. So I have written proof right here of how a landlord has to deal with this, and that's not the same as what she's saying. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you. Jill.
This is certainly a challenging issue on both sides. What we have not heard tonight are from those who have to live on a property that is next to someone who has been in violation. And that's what we continue to try and balance, the public health issues and the rights of the public to a safe and clean neighborhood, and with those who are trying to do their best to keep their properties maintained. 85% of the time we're able to find the compliance within the time of notice of violation and have no issues. It's the remaining times items that we struggle with and that we have to continue to work with property owners, sometimes over and over and over again. So sometimes we have those rare cases where this is a chronic problem. And as you can see in the actual ordinance revision, it does not state that it would be 3 days or that it would be 24 hours. That has become our standard within our department for those items that are a significant health threat. But certainly that's not what's indicated here. In other words, it says that less than 14 days may be desired for those times when it is a public health threat. We want to keep it somewhat, up to our discretion by saying less than 14 days for those items that are a significant health threat for some of the very reasons we're talking about, to allow a little bit of latitude when it seems appropriate and to use our best public health judgment.
Yes, Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Joe, would it be difficult to put in the process an attempt of a direct contact of a landlord? Because I did hear this same thing from the Multi-Housing Association last week when I met with them.
Certainly, we will always do our best to attempt to connect, and if there's things that we need to evaluate in our processes of how we've connected up with either the landlords or the property owners themselves, we'll evaluate that, certainly.
I would like you to do that. Thank you.
Council, would anybody like to make a motion on this particular item?
I'll move to approve. Brown.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Brown's made a motion to approve item number 3. It was seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Erpenbach.
I do want to make that amendment to change the word in the last sentence, change the word commission to city council, and it's just a cleanup thing that it's an old ordinance, so that would be my motion, Erpenbach.
Second, Rolfing.
Seconded by Councilor, there was a motion made by Councilor Erpenbach to amend this motion, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Is there any further discussion on that item? A roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
We now have an amended motion. Are there any other changes? Would anybody like to make a motion?
Move
This
to
is-
approve, Anderson.
Got a motion to approve.
Actually, I believe we
This
have-
is a vote.
Oh, did we already have that? Don't we?
This is a vote needed to adopt it as amended, so we're okay to do the vote. The vote to adopt
Okay,
the
very good.
ordinance as amended.
Well, thank you.
Sorry.
So there is a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you, City Council. Item number 4.
Item number 4 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, setting a timetable for adopting a districting plan for the City of Sioux Falls council districts.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Deborah Owen, City Clerk, Chief of Council Operations. Before you is an ordinance that will set the timeline for the Commission to redistrict for our 5 districts for the city. And the Commission has been working full-time on that, and in fact are ahead of schedule. So we'll need to ask you to make some amendments tonight to have this timeline shortened on their behalf. The Commission's chair is Lynn Keller-Forbes. Also on the Commission is Rick Noby, Andy Traub, Ann Randall, and Mary Glensky. All are doing a great job on your behalf. And at the informational, I did present to you the map that is their recommended map that will go toward a public hearing later in September, and then on to a report to Council in October. So we look forward to hearing from them. But at this time, if you would, because they have moved and they are ahead of schedule and have really moved this process forward, where it says Section 1, the District Commission shall have the districting plan complete, we would ask you to insert no later than, strike the by, and Friday, August 5th, 2011. And then also where it says the public hearing shall be striking that date to insert Thursday, September 15th, 2011, and Saturday, September 17th, 2011. And then in Section 2, under Submit Plan to City Council, we ask that you would amend it to read, the Districting Commission shall submit its districting plan to the City Council, inserting no later than, striking the word on, and striking November 21st, inserting October 17th, 2011 at the Council meeting. Section 3, adoption of the plan. We ask that you would strike December 12th and insert November 21st. Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this item before the council has an opportunity? Very good. Council? Any comments, any questions?
Move approval, Aguilar.
Second, Brown.
Councilor Aguilar has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Brown. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Did we move to approve as recommended, amended, or do we need an amendment?
We need an amendment.
I'll move to amend as recommended by the Chief City Clerk.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilor Anderson, Jr. Any further discussion? Could we have a vote, please?
Okay, this is the vote on accepting the amendments. Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Any further changes, Council? Voting.
Now we're voting on the ordinance as amended. Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you, Council.
Mr.
Item
Mayor?
5.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I think we should thank the commission for their work well done and getting it done ahead of time. I think that would be something that our clerk should send them a little thank you from the commissioner, from the council. Thank you very much. Do a job well done for them.
Thanks, Councilor Rolfing. Thank you. Item number 5.
Item number 5 is a second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, calling a special election on the issue of whether the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota should build a multipurpose event center and associated site improvements.
Move approval.
Second, Anderson.
It's been a motion. Councilor Rolfing, I apologize. Before I do that, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this item? Councilor Rolfing.
Move approval.
It's been a motion to approve by Councilor Rolfing. Is there a second?
Second, Anderson. But I believe you have.
We do. All right. Very good.
Is there, if I may ask a question,
Yes.
is someone going to introduce it so the public watching knows what we're voting on?
Isn't the way the council has chosen to proceed with their meetings is that once the motion has been made by the council, then they wanted to stop the public input. That's why I asked for the public input prior to that. So,
Mr. Mayor, I'll withdraw my motion.
thank you, Councilor Rolfing. Thank you. If there are folks who'd like to speak to this item, we'd love to hear from you, but please come on up and just state your name.
If I
Thank
may,
you.
point of order, I think we need someone from staff first introducing what we are talking about.
No.
I read the event. Councilmember Brown is correct. Someone from staff needs to explain it. I read the item. Someone needs to
David.
explain it.
David.
Mr. Mayor, ordinance, that's the proposed ordinance, that's item number 5, would just create by ordinance a special election on the issue of whether the City of Sioux Falls should build a multipurpose event center and associated site improvements, and that is by the authority of our home rule charter. And it's already had a first reading and quite a bit of discussion for about a year. I don't think I need to add much more.
Thank you. If there's anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this item, we'd love to hear from you. Please just come forward and just state your name, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm James Eisman. How you doing, Mr. Mayor and Council?
Thanks, James.
I just wanted to say something that I'm just really happy to encourage you all to vote for this special election. I think it's really, like I said, been debated and talked about for so long that it's a good idea. And the one thing that I would just add to some of the education, I know there's the one group that's going around and educating people on the reason why we should have the event centers. Everybody talks about it's a new event center. I think it should be spoken as if it's a replacement event center. This is a vote because of the time, because of you watch the news every day, people are worried about the economy. They're worried about, things about how we're going to pay for it, all these issues which are warranted, but this election needs to happen this November. And it's the ultimate goal of the council because you folks want the people to decide. So if we get this election, we let the people decide. It doesn't matter what the Kello poll or whatever it says. It's a very important issue, and I just really appreciate that you would vote for this. I think it should be unanimous. I don't know, but it's an important issue, and getting it this November is what we really need to do. Thank you.
Mr. Eisman, thank you. Welcome.
Again, my name is Wanda Venegay. I just have a question about parking. You said that you were going to be charging for parking out there to help bring in income support for the event center. Does that mean you're always going to be charging parking out there? If they're having a baseball game going on, do the people now going to the Canary Stadium or the Birdcage, whatever it is, have to now pay for parking all the time?
And David, I don't know if you want to attempt to answer that, or we can have someone from the staff come on up and answer that. Mr. Cotter, would you mind answering that for Wanda, please? Or Mr. Turback?
I'll certainly do my best. Mark Cotter with the Office of Public Works. I think our intent was not to gate entrances. Initially, it is for particular events there would be a parking surcharge added to a ticket. So for her question on a particular baseball game, the intention would be no.
Very good. Thank you. Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Bob O'Connell with the Sioux Falls Area Chamber of Commerce. On the 27th of this month, or last month, the Sioux Falls Area Chamber Board, representing over 2,200 businesses in the Sioux Falls area, voted unanimously in support of the Event Center project. The board felt strongly that the proposed Event Center will benefit the entire community. The board would encourage the council to vote unanimously to let the voters decide the issue on November 8th. The Chamber has participated in and supported the work and recommendations of the earlier city and community task force groups and efforts. Our Chamber leadership believes the current proposal deserves careful consideration by the community leaders and citizens of Sioux Falls. The Chamber will strongly support the effort if the City Council approves the resolution to place this on the ballot tonight. We would really encourage your favorable support. Thank you very much.
Mr. O'Connell, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
question,
Councilor
if I
Brown.
may, Mr. O'Connell. How much time did the Chamber Board study the financial package of this?
We had Financial Director Tracy Turbeck come in. We had our issues management talk to Tracy a couple of times. We went through all the due diligence that you saw a number of times, including what you saw tonight. So we vetted it over quite a bit of time. There were a number of different chamber members who were at all the different meetings that the mayor had doing due diligence. We asked them each time that there was a meeting to go to those meetings. So they've seen this all. They've heard from a number of different folks on this, and they've also gone to some of the meetings where the experts gave their testimony. So I think they're very well informed.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Connell, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to that? And before I, very good, Mr. Stenga. And folks, if there's anybody else, if you could just come forward, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
I guess one question that I really hear around town, and it's never been really addressed, and it's never been, people ask me, what about the worst scenario? The economy tanks. Let's say unemployment goes up to 10%. How are we going to not only be able to pay off the event center or make payments on the event center, but even making payments on the keep the arena going and the convention center going? A lot of people, they look at what if. If we had a crystal ball, we can ask that, what if? But people want to know, if we do run into a problem in this city, and yeah, we hear no new taxes. I was going to ask that same question that other gentleman asked. Are we going to push it on to other city council members, or are we going to push it on to another mayor to make the decision on whether or not we should raise taxes or not? I think that should be reworded to where nobody can touch it, nobody can add taxes, nobody can do anything. I guess the thing what a lot of people want to do is they want to make sure that this event center and the arena is not going to end up like the pavilion. We don't want to get stuck paying the full bill. We want to be able to see it run on its own. But this hasn't been addressed, and I think people want to know, if we do have a bad time, how is it going to be paid for?
And I think to be clear to the people of Sioux Falls, and if you would mind just reading again item number 5, Folks, we're not voting on a new event center tonight. If you could just read this, what we're doing is we're allowing the council will decide whether the people of Sioux Falls will have an opportunity to vote on an event center. So just to be clear, would you mind just reading that to the people of Sioux Falls again?
Item 5 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, calling a special election on the issue of whether the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota should build a multipurpose event center and associated site improvements.
Thank you. Folks, is there anyone else who'd like to speak to the council on this item? Very good. Council, questions, comments, or Councilor Rolfe?
I would move approval.
Second, Anderson.
There's been a motion to approve item number 5. It was seconded by Councilor Anderson, Jr. Are there any comments or questions? Yes, Councilor Aguilar.
Mayor Huther and Council, as many of you are aware, initially I was very opposed to putting this on the November a ballot for a November election due to the fact that we will not have approved our budget for 2012. However, I have heard loud and clear from my constituents that they want to have the opportunity to vote, so I will be voting in favor of this motion.
Councilor Aguilar, thank you. Yes, Councilor Jameson.
Thank you, Mayor.
You bet.
I wanted to make it clear tonight that I support an event center, even though I challenged the group probably as hard as anybody could or should. I believe it'd be a tremendous asset for our community. I've said from the very beginning that I thought the cart was ahead of the horse in this whole process, that the public has not made it clear that they want an event center. I absolutely have a lot of problems with the financing plan of this event center. Financing 100% is a bad idea. Making interest-only payments is a bad idea. Those are not fiscally responsible things to do. We have an opportunity to do it differently. That's not the plan that's in front of us today. But I've heard from a lot of people as well who want to weigh in on this issue. They want us to know how they feel. I think tonight is our chance to finally correct and get the horse in front of the cart. So I'll support sending this to a public vote so that the public finally has a chance to let us know how they feel.
Councilor Mbach.
I've been on the fence with lots of folks in the last several months, and I have never once wavered from support of having an event center in the city of Sioux Falls. It's an incredible opportunity for us. I am not happy that we're going to do the election in November. I know that I don't have the votes supporting me, and so I will vote to put it on the election on the ballot in November. But I want you to understand that in that short 3 months, we have to challenge ourselves as voters to understand this process inside and out. I had a conversation the other day with someone who said, you know, as council members, you've read volumes of material and listened to hours of testimony, and that's exactly right. Now, the voters of Sioux Falls are going to have about 90 days to do the exact same thing that we're doing. And we're going to have to, each of us as individuals, work to bring ourselves up to speed so that we're ready to vote for this. If I had my way, we would do a longer education process. We've seen mayor candidates spend a lot more time than 3 months running for office and teaching us what they want us to know about them. And so I'm very concerned that the voters of Sioux Falls understand that this is a huge thing and that their vote does matter, that you need to be in the ballot box on November 8th.
Councilor Brown.
Mayor, first of all, I do want to congratulate you because we are farther along in this process than we've ever been in building an event center. However, the plan is not done, and sending it to the voters this November is premature. With all due respect, Mr. Mayor, I ask you to remember your campaign promises. $100 million facility. Now, I can forgive you on that. It goes up every day. I understand that. You promised a down payment. We are doing none. And it's an interest only for 2 years. That didn't work for the housing industry. It shouldn't work for a recreational facility for the city. And finally, you promised private dollars, up to $24.5 million to pay for the construction. Instead, we might send voters to the polling places on a whim and a prayer that we will find the money to help with the operations. I can't go with that. I want to talk a little bit more about the financing package. I know we've all seen the numbers about the operational costs, but do any of us really believe this facility is going to make money? The arena doesn't, the convention center doesn't, but suddenly, magically, we add the third facility in and it does make money? Come on. Finally, let's take a look at voter turnout in our last two special elections. Drake Springs, 15%. The rec center, 24%. Presidential elections, 75%. And what a coincidence, we have one just a year away. Make no mistake, I want an event center for Sioux Falls. I also want voters to have a say in it for themselves on whether we do it or not, but I want a full business plan in front of them before we rush to spend taxpayer dollars on the single biggest project this city has ever imagined. You are close, Mr. Mayor. Let's have patience. Let's do it right. I can't support sending it to a vote this November.
Council, before you vote, I did tell Mr. Weiderman that we would try to get to his questions with your permission, if we could attempt to answer those. One was involving the CVB and the money that's been allocated, or the new process where money goes to the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Councilor Entenmann, would you mind just answering that question for Mr. Weiderman, please, in terms of, he had mentioned that the money is going to be used towards the new event center, and I think he's confused. Mr. Entenmann, would you mind just explaining that to the people of Sioux Falls, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
A new bid was, we did approve a bid. And what's exciting about the bid itself is that it's going to allow a significant amount of additional funding for the CVB to promote the city of Sioux Falls and the events that we have going on in the community. By state law, the bid is considered a tax by state law, and tax dollars cannot be used to support any kind of campaign whatsoever. So no bid money is going to be used in addressing this, bringing this to the voters at all. The bid money, I think we've positioned ourselves extremely well, that if the event center is approved by the voters, the CVB is going to have significant amount of funding to be able to get out and promote the new event center, as well as other facilities that we have in this city. It's going to allow us an opportunity to do a lot of things that we have not been able to do. But no money has been put forward by the CVB towards the event center, and nor do I believe they ever intend on doing that.
Councilor Entenmann, thank you. The second question by Mr. Weiderman involved this particular, what we're doing tonight, and whether future councils or future mayors will have the opportunity to vote on it or change the direction of this council. David, would you mind explaining to the people of Sioux Falls why it was done in this way?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Briefly, there is a long line of cases from the South Dakota Supreme Court that basically say that a current council cannot bind a future city council regarding a governmental matter. And so to answer Mr. Weiderman's question, this current city council couldn't bind a future council to change their minds on something like the taxes.
Very good, thank you. And then Mr. Weiderman's third question involved the polling that has been discussed in numerous informational meetings and city council meetings. And he had expressed that he had not met anyone who was in favor of it, and so how could these polls be reflective of the voting public or of the people of Sioux Falls? Council, I don't know, or Councilor Brown or anybody, I could answer that question, but I would anybody want to would you mind? Councilor Buck, would you please explain polling and how that works to the people of Sioux Falls?
Mr. Mayor, no, I would not. I would just say the only poll that really matters is the one that is on Election Day.
I think that's as fair a comment as any. Thank you very much, Councilor Buck. I appreciate that. And then last but not least, if I did feel that this vote was going to be any closer and there was an opportunity to me to cast a deciding vote, I would certainly hand over the gavel to Council Chair Aguilar. But in listening intently to the councilors tonight, it sounds like that may not need to happen. But I would respectfully disagree with the comments that were made by Councilor Brown, and so in this particular event, I'm going to keep my mouth shut, and I'm going to move on. Yes, Councilor Aguilar.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to move to add the following, that pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law 9-19-13, that this ordinance will take effect upon passage and publication.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Aguilar has made a motion to change this second reading by adding pursuant to SDCL 9-19-13. This ordinance will take effect upon passage and publication. It was seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Is there any discussion on that item? Very good. Could we have a vote on the amendment to the second reading?
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Council, any further discussion on this item? Yes, Councilor Karski.
Yeah, I guess I would like to put in my comments into this. And the old saying, time is money. A year ago, before I was on the council, there's a lot of debate on spending $500,000 on studying the issue of an event center. Currently, at today's interest rate, it's costing us about $500,000 a month for every month that we delay building an event center. It's just a rough number. I believe, if not this time, and I'm very hopeful that the public supports it, and I think they do, and that's why I'm going to vote yes tonight, but someday an event center will be built. The longer we wait, the more it costs, and that's been pointed out. There's a plan in front of us. Do we all agree with it? Do we all think it's perfect? As a business person, I have had to put business plans together. Business plans I've never seen a perfect one, but I do know that without a plan, you can't move forward. So I'm going to encourage everybody to vote yes tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Karski. Yes, Councilor Rolfing.
You know, I'm the only one who hasn't said anything here, and I'm the only one who's been in favor of this all the way along, pretty much. I shouldn't say the only one, but I'm the one who's been supporting going forward, and so I just think we ought to go forward, and let's get the thing built. Thank you.
Councilor Rolfing, thank you. And the longer we wait, the more intent I'm getting to start talking, so we better vote. Right, Councilor Aguilar?
Right.
Yes, there has been an amendment made to the second reading, which has passed. Council, we would now vote on that reading. Please.
We're voting on the ordinance as amended. Council member Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
No.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
That is passed 7-1. Thank you, Council. Item 6.
Item 6 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing supplemental appropriations to fund the event center election expenses.
Mayor and Council, Deborah Owen, City Clerk, Chief of Council Operations. This is an ordinance to pay for the election that you just voted on. The amount is $45,000, and we anticipate that that should cover at least most or all of the costs of our special election in November. In addition, as you did with the ordinance, we would ask that you would amend this to add what we call an emergency clause, which allows the ordinance to take effect upon passage and publication, which really just allows us to spend the money as we need to go ahead and order ballots and begin to hire people and to move this thing forward. Thank you.
Deborah, thank you. Sioux Falls, this is another opportunity for you to speak to the council. Would anybody like to speak to the council? Very good. City Council?
Move to approve, Anderson.
Second, Rolfing.
There's been a motion to approve this second reading, item number 6 by Councilor Anderson Jr., seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Any questions or comments? Yes, Councilor.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the document pursuant, again, to South Dakota Codified Law 9-19-13. This ordinance will take effect upon passage and publication.
Second, Erpenbach.
There has been a motion made to amend this second reading by Councilor Aguilar. It was seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Is there any further discussion on this? A roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Any further discussion, Council? Very good. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 7.
Item 7 is deferred item, a resolution approving the form of ballot, including the city attorney's explanation in connection with the election, to determine whether the city should construct an event center.
Ms. Fife?
Thank you, Mayor. This item 7 is a resolution that is the culmination of the efforts of a ballot language working group, which included Councilors Anderson, Brown, and Jameson, as well as the city clerk, Deborah Owen, Kendra Simmonsma, and Karen Leonard, and myself from the city attorney's office. In addition to the ballot language group, this was also vetted and edited by our bond counsel. Local is attorney Doug Hayek with the Davenport Evans Law Firm, and it was also reviewed and edited by the Perkins Coie Law Firm out of Chicago. And the Perkins Coie Law Firm is the bond counsel for the city of Chicago, and they also have been involved with stadium, arena, and event center bond elections in Cleveland, Milwaukee, and Chicago, among other areas. And based on their expertise, we have come up with this ballot language for the council's consideration based on the calling of a special election.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this item? Very good. Council?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Rolfing's made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Is there any further discussion on this item? Councilor Jameson.
If I could have our counsel, Doug Hayek, come forward for a question.
Please. Mr. Hayek. Welcome.
Thank you. Doug Hayek with Davenport Evans.
Counselor? Counselor? Good.
Counselor.
Could you, we discussed the idea of having the words issue bonds in the actual language of the question that's going to be on the ballot. It was determined earlier that council had advised us against that. Could you reiterate why that's a problem? We had a meeting, you weren't here, but we did have a meeting and we discussed this. And the idea was that, I had made a recommendation that issuing bonds was actually included in the language of the ballot. And further discussion was had that said our bond counsel recommended that wasn't a good idea.
Well, I wasn't here at the meeting. You are correct about that. And so I can't respond exactly to what was said or what was not said.
Fair enough. Let me just ask you the question. Should we or should we not include the words issue bonds, which is exactly what we would be doing, in the language of asking the citizens, should the city of Sioux Falls issue bonds to build a multi-purpose event center?
I think it's important, as is stated in the ballot, the city attorney's explanation. The first sentence is to make it clear that this election will advise the city council as to whether the public supports the issuance or proceeding with the project. And so I think that's an important thing to remember, that this is an advisory election. It's an advisory election because basically that's the only alternative. The mayor and city council members, I think, on numerous occasions over the past several years, have made it clear to the public that they would not proceed with the building of an event center without giving the voters an opportunity to vote. And the actual payment of the cost of an event center would be, as is currently proposed, through the issuance of sales tax revenue bonds, which, of course, can only be authorized under statute by action of the city council. And so the legal fact is that the public cannot direct the city council to issue bonds. Only the city council itself can take action to issue bonds. The public would have the opportunity to refer any such action if that's what the council decided to do. As far as whether to put that subject in the ballot question itself, I think part of what was the attempt was here to try to make this as simple as possible, to not make a complicated question. The introductory language in the right before the question states that the project would be paid for, it's contemplated through the issuance of sales tax revenue bonds. So when the voter marks yes or no, they are doing that with the understanding that the project is going to be paid for with proceeds from the sales tax revenue bonds. And so the question is just very simple, and I think that was deliberate so that there wouldn't be confusion as to what people were voting on.
But
again, I wasn't at the meeting when the conversation occurred,
right.
so I don't really know what was said.
One of the gaps that you're missing is there was potential talk of removing some language, that first paragraph that states exactly what you just covered. And so if that should happen, do you think then leaving it in the attorney's explanation is okay? And not including it in the actual question? If that language, that paragraph before it should be removed, are we being crystal clear?
I think what I heard you say is that if we took out the sentence that said the project would be paid for through the issuance of sales tax revenue bonds, right. If we did that, then would we remove the first sentence in the attorney's explanation?
No, leave it there.
Leave it there.
That's fair.
Okay. I'm sorry, what is the question then?
Well, there was just some conversation about removing the paragraph that talks about explaining, we called it a marketing piece somewhat, of what's going to happen in this question. No new taxes, no increase in taxes. If all that language was removed, like a lot of other ballot questions that we have when we all go vote, if that language is removed, would we need issuing bonds anywhere else?
Well, you don't need anything anywhere. Frankly, you don't even need to do this legally. You don't have to have this election. You're doing it voluntarily to give the public an opportunity to vote on whether the city should proceed with this project, even though the public does not have there's not provision in statute requiring you to do that. The public would have an opportunity to vote on it at some point if sales tax bonds or revenue bonds are used and the matter is referred. But I think that the whole purpose of this, the way it's expressed, is to lay out to the public what the council's intentions are. And while it would be theoretically, legally possible for you to deviate from what you've told the public here, I would think that when the next election comes around, if the council did that, materially deviated from what they said they were going to do, or what the public said we want you to do, as expressed in this ballot, there might be some serious questions by the electorate as to whether the council represents what they want. So there is a certain amount of, I think, specificity in this in the resolution, the introductory paragraph to the question itself, and in the city attorney's explanation to give the voters an idea of what the plan would be. And there wasn't a deliberate attempt to try to make it simple and not hide the fact that bonds would be issued. It doesn't say how many dollars worth of bonds, but it does make it clear that the intent would be, or that if I vote yes for this, what I'm saying is it's okay for me. I want the project to proceed, and it's okay with me that the city issue sales tax revenue bonds in order to pay for the project.
Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hayek, can I just ask you a favor? For the people of Sioux Falls, could you just repeat that last line? Or
Could the
Deborah?
court reporter repeat that last line?
Because I think you simplified it to the point that people will certainly understand.
Well, all right. I guess what I said was that if I check yes on this ballot, what I am saying is that number one, I support the construction of the project, and number two, I understand that it is going to be paid for from proceeds of sales tax revenue bonds.
Mr. Hayek, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Mr. Hayek, just a question on the dollar figure that's on there, because I do have a concern when we tell the voters that the construction costs are $115. But what they don't know when they see that is that really the costs are going to be $125 million because of the issuance of bonds. We were told when we were working on that language that bond counsel recommended we not put that in. I'm wondering if you can explain that.
Well, again, I don't think I was present at that meeting,
You were
so
not.
I don't know exactly what was said. But the ballot, the resolution, well, the city attorney's explanation does explain that when it says $115 million, that's talking about the hard costs of the project and architectural fees and construction costs and hard construction costs, that sort of thing. It also goes on to say in the attorney's explanation that it does not include such things as interest and financing, the upfront financing costs, and then reserves that might be established, which aren't truly a cost, but it's money that has to be set aside in a bond issue in order to provide further security for the issuance of the bonds. There are limitations on the amount of what that would be, but and I haven't computed what these would be, but it does say that these costs will be additional, and those can be built into, to some extent, those can be built into the dollars, the bonds that are issued.
Absolutely. I appreciate your explanation, especially since you weren't there. My concern is that voters are going to see $115 million, and that's what they're going to expect that the City Council will authorize in bonding, when it really is going to cost us $125 million when you add in the issuance of bonds. And I guarantee there will be confusion by that, and we will have people come to this podium and say, you said you were only going to borrow $115 million.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Could we have Tracy Turback come up?
Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy.
Good evening.
Once again, in our conversations that we've had about the bond amount and the extra money that is part of the sale of the bonds, could you explain that and what will happen with that extra money again, please?
There are two components, and Doug referred to both of those. The first is the cost of issuance. Those would be costs that are incurred in the marketing of the bonds for maybe bond insurance, bond counsel fees, underwriting fees, those types of things that aren't a cost of building the project or a cost of obtaining the financing. And that would be, in the overall scheme of things, a relatively small amount, about 1 to 1.5% of the overall amount of the bond issue. The other amount that's been discussed is the reserve fund, or the security fund that Mr. Hayek referred to, that is money that is borrowed, put into a trust fund, and at the final termination of the bond issue is returned to the bond investors. So it is not a cost to the project. I would venture a guess that every bond ordinance that the City Council has adopted in the past would have been handled the same way that the language is being handled on this ballot, in that the amount of the project, the amount of bond proceeds to be put into the project budget is what's stated on the ordinance, and the ordinance language would say, in addition, sufficient amounts to pay for cost of issuance and debt service reserves and so on. So this is not, the approach taken in the ballot language is not at all out of the ordinary in terms of ordinances that would have been passed by this council or any other city council when issuing bonds. That's very, very common language.
Thank you.
That
Council,
doesn't make
we
it
do
any
have
less excuse me.
Council, we
that-
do have a motion that was made by Councilor Rolfing, seconded by Councilor Entman. Is there any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
That's passed 8-0. Item number 8.
Item number 8 is a deferred item, a resolution providing that a proposal to construct an event center and associated site improvements, the project, will be subject to the approval of the voters at a special election to be held on November 8th, 2011.
David?
Thank you, Mayor. Item 8 is just a resolution that states that the council will not proceed with the project unless a simple majority vote is approving of the project itself, and that would relate to item 7 regarding placing the issue on the ballot. And this was due to some concerns expressed by some of the councilors that they wanted the public to be fully assured that the council would not proceed with the project unless a positive vote was had at November.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this particular item? Very good. Councilor Jameson?
I would move to approve.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilor Jameson. Appreciate it. And seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Comments? Councilor Jameson?
This is a resolution that I requested. The purpose of it is that a lot of us had been approached by the public asking us about this election and how binding is it, when in fact the council has the authority and the ability to borrow this money without the public's input. Certainly they could refer it, but I think all of us wanted to make it crystal clear to the public that whatever their wishes are from the voting booth are exactly what this council will execute. And so we just wanted to kind of put ourselves in a spot where we had to agree to that prior to the vote, so there was no questions about what was going to happen after the public voted. So it's just an intent to be crystal clear about the council's relationship in this vote. There is one question I have, if I could.
Sure.
And Dave, maybe you can help me on this. In the resolution under number 1 there, item 1, if the public approves the proceedings, the very last sentence here, solely out of the second penny sales tax revenues to finance all or a portion of the cost of the project. Is portion, all or a portion of, does the word portion need to be in there? I mean, we've made it clear that we're borrowing 100% of this project.
Councilor Jameson, I think that was added by bond counsel just to provide that flexibility, depending on how much in private investment may actually occur. That allows some wiggle room, I guess, if the council doesn't need to have 100% of the project costs issued with sales tax-backed bonds.
Do you also see, what I was concerned about was that if the project cost should run into over and above the $115 million, and we needed to actually find more money to finish this project, does that allow us an opportunity or a backdoor of some sort to borrow more money? That's what I was concerned about. Could it be construed in that way?
I think with the ordinance talking about an amount not to exceed $115 million, when you read that together with this, Councilor Jameson, I think the council is sticking to that $115 million figure for the initial project cost.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Jameson, good job. Anything else, Council? Very good. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
That's passed 8-0. Councilor Aguilar?
Mr. Mayor, I would ask that we take a 10-minute recess in order for staff to prepare for the next portion of the meeting.
Very good. People in the audience, I would like to thank you for your patience. If you'd like to stay for the rest of the meeting, we would certainly welcome that. But you've done a great job tonight, and we'll commence at 8:40. We'll recommence at 8:40. Thank you.
If council members could return to their seats, please. Let's just go.
Item number 9.
Item 9 is a resolution approving the special assessment roll for snow removal in various areas in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Welcome.
Go
right ahead. Yes, thank you.
Well, as most of you know, city ordinance allows homeowners 48 hours to clear their sidewalks after each snow or ice fall accumulation, and after 72 hours, the city may clear those properties at the property owner's expense, and if those aren't paid, they may be billed to the property itself. Annually, we do per city ordinance a notification in the newspaper. We do that in the Argus Leader. This is the legal ad that we run 4 times annually. The dates are on here if anyone would like to take a look at it. In addition to that, we run this 4-inch by 2-inch notification that's a little easier for people to understand. It says in big letters, notice to remove snow and ice. Additionally, the snow alert guide is mailed annually. This goes to all homeowners in the city of Sioux Falls, and inside you will see a third of a page dedicated to the Scoop It program and a quarter of a page dedicated to removing snow and ice on sidewalks. We also run several times during the winter this Spotlight Sioux Falls. It's basically telling homeowners on Channel 16 that you need to clear your sidewalks. We also use crawlers in conjunction with snow alerts on those channels that run across the top and the bottom of the channels throughout the snow season to remind people to do that. This year we did do some new things. One thing we did is we went to some of our major routes and we went door to door and physically handed this little flyer to property owners. They would have been around on routes like 10th Street, 12th Street, Louise, around the major shopping areas, the mall, Kiwanis Avenue. These are some of our higher traffic foot traffic areas, and we wanted to make sure those business owners knew what their responsibility was to get that done. We also had several stories that run on Kello, KSFY, all the local news medias. They run several times throughout the winter. We do multiple press releases. It's also on every snow alert press release. It goes on the bottom of the snow alert. There's a paragraph that reminds people to clear their sidewalks. And we started this year also issuing press releases telling people when a snow accumulation ended and what the timeline was to have those cleared. When we go out, we do go door to door and we do leave notifications on the properties that are in violation. This is the notification that we leave on the property if it's in violation when we get there after receiving a complaint. This year we also sent out an email to all business owners through the Chamber of Commerce. This went out to thousands of participants so they would know what their responsibilities are and to try to improve the situation in Sioux Falls. We also make hundreds of phone calls every year. There were days when it snowed when we couldn't inspect. We had people literally sitting for 7-8 hours a day making phone calls to properties where we had complaints. And we also attempt to make calls when we're on site if there's violations and there's not a good place or someone to contact. If it's a rental property, we attempt to make phone calls. This year, we worked on changing our bid process, and one thing that we have changed, 2 years ago our average bill was $340 or $330. Last year our average bill was $340. This year our average bill was $136. So we have significantly reduced the cost of these bills to the citizen and to the city. Something that we worked hard for, so I think that will make quite an impression, or should make an impression on all of you that we are working to make this affordable. Complaints received this year, we received 1,905 complaints. Approximately 46% of those complaints are valid when we arrive. And of all the complaints we receive, we clear approximately 9% of them. They don't get cleared after we leave a notification or try to contact the homeowner. And when we leave a notice, approximately 80% of the people come into compliance once we get there, and that would be this red notification, and 20% of those people that receive this notice do not comply. That's all I have for you, unless you have questions.
There were some pictures that were appearing on the screen. Could you explain those to the public, please?
These are just what we typically would see when we went out. This is along Louise Avenue here. This is a property we did clear this year. This is where we got a minimal snow amount early in the season. It was never cleared by the property owner. It turned to an ice. And it's slippery. We received multiple complaints. Here you can see a property that was blatantly not done. We went in and cleared it, and there's another one also in there that cleared blatantly not done. And you'll see the crosswalks are typically blocked. You'll see anywhere from 14 to 20 inches of snow. What really drives up the cost typically is the ice and the ice removal underneath the snow.
And do you take pictures of these on every property?
We take pictures before and after. There's a few where we may miss the after pictures because of continued snowfalls or holiday weekends, but typically every one of these will have a before and after picture, a before picture for sure.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public or in the audience who'd like to speak to this item? Very good. Council, any questions or comments or motions?
Move to approve, Anderson.
Second, Urbanbach.
There's been a motion by Councilor Anderson Jr. to approve item number 9, seconded by Councilor Urbanbach. Council, any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Urbanbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 10.
Item 10 is a resolution approving the special assessment roll for tree trimming in various areas in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Is there anyone here from the city who'd like to speak to this item? Thank you.
Mayor, City Council, Dwayne Stahl representing Parks and Recreation. The tree ordinance itself deals with low-hanging branches over streets and sidewalks. That's one of the items that could come up before you tonight. We kind of use a similar process to notify the public with a notice on a complaint. We send out a letter giving the property owner approximately 3 weeks to come into compliance. After that date, we do a follow-up inspection. If the property has not been trimmed, we leave a note. It's kind of a safety net to help catch some of those situations where maybe somebody was out of town. For whatever reason, it's another opportunity to contact that individual or individuals. And after that extension, generally it's about a 7-day extension. We come back. If it's still not trimmed, the city crews trim the trees up to code, and they are assessed at a rate that is established in the letter, $150 an hour, minimum 1 hour. And if the invoice is not paid, then it would show up before you tonight. Another tree issue that may show up tonight is a healthy forest doesn't just happen. We work hard on trying to keep the urban forest healthy, and one way to do that is to do an annual inspection for dead and insect disease trees on private property. And there again, we send a notice asking to have a tree removed by a certain date. We come back. If that tree is not removed, we send out another letter, an order to remove. And after that time frame, if that tree still remains there, we take the remaining trees and we put them out for bid to the licensed arborists in the city. And we take the lowest bid per tree, and we hire that arborist to remove that tree, and the property owner is assessed for that, or invoiced for that cost. Any questions?
Dwayne, thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this item? Yes, welcome, Mr. Stenga.
I could probably ask him without you guys, but I guess my question is there still one place to bring tree limbs? Is it out at the dump, or did we open up anything else in town?
Dwayne, would you want to answer that, please? Or Mark, would you want to answer that? The question was, are there multiple locations to drop your tree limbs in the city of Sioux Falls?
Well, at any given time, it's free if you go out to the Mueller Pallet location that is just on the south side of the city. And then just recently, council took action to greatly reduce the cost to deposit trees at the landfill. So the landfill is always open, and then now in the fall of the year, we'll be opening up when the leaf drop-off will also allow for free tree drop-off as well. So different times a year, but at any given time, you can go to Mueller Pallet south of town for free.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you. Council, any comments or motions?
Move approval, Aguilar.
Second, Entman.
Councilor Aguilar has made a motion to approve item number 10, seconded by Councilor Entman. Any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Pass 8-0. Item 11.
Item 11 is a resolution approving the special assessment roll for litter removal in various areas in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Good afternoon again, Mayor and City Council. We have about 5 short slides to just take you through the process. This is something that Health drives and Public Works assists, but since we take care of the cleanup and the associated bills, we'll take you through the process, and if you have any questions, both Public Works and Health are here. Essentially, this is a neighbor-driven process. If a complaint comes in from the public, Environmental Health actually goes out and does an inspection, does a risk assessment to find out essentially what the level of health concern there is. If it's garbage, municipal solid waste, they'll get a 3-day notice. If it's something else like couches, mattresses, things of that nature, TVs, they'll extend the time for that debris cleanup, and it can be up to 14 days. After that prescribed waiting period, one of the health inspectors will actually go out and confirm if the property's been cleaned up. If they haven't, they'll contact the landfill. We'll mobilize teams to actually do the cleanup. They do an inspection after it's completed. We invoice the associated costs, and now we're here today for the assessment roll. Had very good compliance of 151 notices. Only 24 of them actually needed cleanups, and again, at the end of the day, the majority of them paid their assessments. Today we'll bring you 13 assessments that did not pay their invoice. Next slide. We've got just 3 slides that give you a sense of what we see when we go to the field and a typical cleanup cost. This is 2 photos in that typical cleanup range of $150 to $250. Next. This, when the volume gets a little larger, so does the amount. So this is a typical $250 to $350 cleanup. And last, this is an example on those black devices that are on the. That's actually garbage, and so in that case, they look at that as being a 3-day notice. The rest of it essentially is mattresses and other household garbage that can extend. But the fact that we have garbage on the premise, if they don't meet that guideline, we'll actually mobilize in and clean the entire amount up, and that raises the amount of cleanup. Next slide. Okay, let's go back. And so tonight, the assessment roll that was brought in front of you, that's dated 8/8/2011, has 15 assessments, and it's our recommendation to remove 2 of these. Item number 5 was a property that was in transition. It was sold at the end of May, and the invoice was mailed out after that, and so it's been our practice in the past that if a property's in transition, this one was particularly a foreclosure, that we would remove the assessment and not expend the resources. And then the other one is item 15, and that property owner actually paid their assessment. So we would ask for your support in levying this assessment and removing item number 5 and number 15 from this roll. And Public Works and/or Health is here to answer your questions.
Removing item 5 and 15, does that have to be part of the motion?
I think so.
Okay. Yes. Okay, very good. Before the council acts, is there anyone in the public who'd like to address us? Please come forward. And if you could just restate your name, please. Thank you.
Sheila Paring.
Hey, Sheila.
On March 17th, I received a letter about a property of mine, a 3-day notice. Had items in the yard that needed to be cleaned up. I did not get there to do it within the allotted time, received a $100 ticket, so I paid it. Actually received my second notice stamped 6 days after the ticket came to me, which I found a little rude. I mean, I couldn't even get it in the mail. That was March 17th. On April 25th, I went to the property, took 2,400 pounds of furniture and things the previous tenant had left off the property. And on June 24th, 2 months after I cleaned it up, I received a bill for this property for $160 for cleanup. Went to the city attorney's office, Brad Bostad, I don't know if it's building services, called the health department. After about a week, I received black and white photos, which I couldn't tell what anything was. So I requested more photos, and in the process, and I have you look at this, and by the way, this has taken me a month, and not counting tonight, I spent 2 hours of my time, plus 2 trips to City Hall and 2 trips to the health department to obtain these 4 photos, which I find completely outrageous. Couldn't get people to return my phone calls, deal with me. One person saying, no, that person has the information. The other one saying, no, that person has the information. Had me running all over to get these photos. I was at the health department picking up these black and white photos from the secretary and saw another sheet of paper that I was told I wasn't supposed to see, that was basically an inter-office memo that they get. And once you guys look at the picture, you'll see it's one supervisor for $45 an hour and an entire hour, 2 laborers billed at $22 an hour, a full hour for them, so $44, 2 pickups at $25 an hour, so that's $50. Plus the tipping fee and the bags, $160. My reason for complaint is there is a little bit of trash. I don't know, can you guys bring them? Oh, it is. The top one's the after, the bottom one's the before. There's 2 of them. And the items that I took to the dump on April 25th were on this property on March 23rd. I was ticketed for them. They didn't touch them. They picked up some trash in the alleyway and in the driveway, which I had to redo again a month later just because of the traffic that goes through there. There's just constantly trash getting dumped. They didn't, they were there. They're charging me for, supervisors and laborers, and they left all of this furniture, carpeted padding, TV, everything. And by their own records, they spent 17 minutes on my property and charged me 3 hours of labor. 1 full hour for a supervisor and 2 laborers at 1 hour each. And they have, this is your, the city's own Joe Germsted's photos and his time and date stamp. And, their plastic bottles. There wasn't even any rotting household waste. It was just like plastic and things that had blown in.
Sheila, is the property that you're talking about, is that on the assessment roll that we're discussing tonight?
I was told it is, yes.
Okay. It is. Okay, very good. So you've not paid the $160?
No.
Very good. Thank you.
No. And I guess I would like, and here again, this is, the letter left the health department on Thursday, March 13th, or March 17th. On Wednesday, March 23rd at 11:20 in the morning, they're over there cleaning it up and sending me a $160 bill, which I didn't even receive until June 24th. 3 months after the cleanup is when I received the bill for this. And that's, I didn't even have any idea because I picked up so much trash by my garage. I had no idea they had even been out there.
Okay.
And I don't know, is this today you're making decisions on these
Yes.
bills?
Yes.
Okay.
So Sheila, what you're trying to say is a couple things. Number one, you believe that the amount that you were charged is excessive for the amount of trash that was there.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Number two, you're saying that the notification process was not strong. That you were either warned too quickly or was just they took care of the problem too quickly and then billed you at a later time.
Right.
And then I don't know if there was another point, but Sheila,
Well,
thank
just
you.
disclosure.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Disclosure of, I was a little alarmed when I was told I couldn't see a detailed, because I got labor $89.
Okay.
Then when I accidentally see a piece of paper on her desk, it's broken down. One supervisor at $45 an hour, 1 hour. Two laborers at $22. I guess my question is the city, is this a money-making operation for you guys? I know you're not paying any laborers picking up garbage, even $11 an hour. I'd be real surprised.
Sheila, thank you. Maybe what I can, if you wouldn't mind, just stay there. The property, and if you don't mind, Council, just maybe to help us through this dialogue here a little bit, the property that we're seeing right here, if I could just ask somebody from the city to explain why it took two laborers to clean this particular property. Could somebody explain that? And Sheila, if you could just go to the right, just a little, or to the left a little bit, and then Marco, and then don't leave us, so please. Thank you.
Certainly. Well, just to break down, usually when we go to these properties, we have to have a sense of what we're walking into, and so the supervisor hour. That's when, we charge our time from the time we leave the landfill till the time we get back, because those are activities that we should be working for the customers of the landfill. And so that's why you'll see an hour from the supervisor, and then he'll come back and actually assess, here's the degree of project that you have to address, and then he sends out two laborers on this particular case with a pickup to actually go perform the duty and drive back. And so, again, just like we talked about in the initial slides, it doesn't take very much to generate that initial $150 to $200 because we are mobilizing a team to actually do it. Now here on this one, Mayor, there's a lot of garbage that's been spread out. It's been declared as a public nuisance. And so the total time to travel from the landfill to the site, do the cleanup and back, that's the 1 hour with two laborers.
Mark, do you always send two laborers on every job?
No.
Okay.
We've had cleanups go as far as having to take skid loaders, dump trucks, and so that's why it's critical to actually assess it and then align it with the right amount of staff and
So again,
equipment.
to simplify it, not only for Sheila but for the rest of the public and the council, a supervisor goes out, evaluates it, and then she or he will decide whether to send one laborer, two laborers, or the amount of equipment or resources needed to clean it up.
That's correct.
Thank you. Yes. Councilor James,
Mark, if
or
I
do you have a question for Mark or for Sheila? Mark, Councilor Jameson has a question.
Certainly.
Do I understand it right that you're actually running a trip of this debris from this property through and out to the landfill? Just this property? Just that debris right there?
Right. Because we're not in the garbage collection business. And so, if we were, I assume if we had a private truck, we could actually send them by and do this type of a cleanup, but that's not, we're not in that business. We're not in the refuge collection business.
Folks, thank you, Mark. Sir, do you have a comment in regards to... I'm sorry? Sir, right. Sir, if you could just come, normally we'd ask you to come forward, please, and just state your name. Thank you. Sheila, thank you very much.
When is it just?
Yeah,
bill
no,
is what it
we're
is?
just going to continue the dialogue, and Sheila, then we'll let the council decide what they'd like to do with your concern.
My
Yes.
question is like.
And sir, if you could just state your
Yeah,
name.
my
please.
name is Suleiman Ahmed.
Thank you.
Yeah, I said like instead of taking one garbage and take it to the landfill and come back, why they can make like 5 or 6 houses, just like her problem or my problem, and pick it together so that will be less bill.
Very good. Thank you very much, Ms. Cotter. The
Just-
question was.
Why don't we
pick up
six at
a
once?
couple of locations at one time versus going one and then coming back? Ms. Cotter, could you explain that, please?
The key is, remember in that initial takeoff, 151 homes got notices this year. Only 24 were actually picked up. And remember, we're really trying to hit that. Once they have three-day notice, we're on it. So it's not like we can wait till there's 4 or 5 ready. We're trying to manage that, but there's only 24 for the entire year that we cleaned up. Okay?
Very good. Thank you, Mark. Yes, Councilor Brown.
Question for Director Cotter. With other similar kind of assessments, we contract, whether it be mowing or snow removal. Why do we not do that in the litter control?
Well, we actually had a good discussion about that of recent, because we do have a lot of refuge haulers in the city, nearly 40 of them. But one of the things we want to make sure we control is that in some way we have to have a fair and reasonable price for these people that are getting it picked up. And many of it's based on weight. And so we would say that if we were to call XYZ company, we would want them to go to a site with an empty truck and perform the pickup. And in many cases, this garbage is around the back. It has appliances. What we found is that in many cases, if they just take a normal refuge hauler out there, a compactor truck, they're going to find electronics, and we actually segregate them and put them in the right respective spots. Trust me, I've thought long and hard about wanting to outsource this. I just think us trying to capture a good bid is going to be a challenge. And so it's certainly not off the table, but to actually get a good representative level bidding table. I mean, one of the recent articles that just was published about the cleanup that happened in Minnehaha County, our rates are in some cases half of what the private contractors went. And we balance ours against FEMA rates and our true costs. So our costs on these are, I would say, very fair.
Is there anyone in the public who would like to speak to this item?
So you bill for one full
Sheila,
hour.
Sheila, if you could just speak into the microphone and just
Okay,
speak
sorry.
to the council, and then
Oh.
Mark will be able to hear
Okay.
you. Thank you.
They bill for one full hour, and that includes driving time. Is that's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. I just have a real problem with this. They spent 17 minutes on my property, and
Sheila, you made your point very, very clear.
yeah, well,
you did a really good job.
I've got good houses, and I'm really disgusted because it doesn't look like, he's fighting for his money. I'm a little disgusted.
Sheila, thank you. Council, is there anyone who would like to make a motion on this particular item? Councilor Rolfing.
I have another question. Mark?
Mr. Conner?
I'm sorry, I just can't. If someone went out to look at, you're telling me somebody went out and looked at this beforehand and then sent 2 people and a truck to pick up that?
Well, the pickup came from the first supervisor.
Right. 2 trucks, one from the first one from the second one.
Right. And I would say, too, in the economy of scale, in most cases, cleanups are more. That's why you see on the sheet that they range in higher cost. But there becomes there becomes some basic costs when you have to mobilize a team that doesn't normally do this work, and it also takes them away from executing the work that of all the landfill customers in the 5-county area. So, I sympathize that these are additional costs to a property, but from our standpoint, we mobilize when public health issues a health notice, and we want to make sure it's good for the entire neighborhood.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Go ahead, Rex, if you still have
Well,
any
I
questions.
understand we needed to get this cleaned up. I don't have a problem with that, but the two people.
I understand.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
My question was for Sheila again. I just wanted to make sure I heard this right. You said you got on the 4-day notice. When did you get the notification again? And
Well, it left it was written out of the health department on March 17th, Thursday, March 17th. Now, if I opened it on the 18th or 19th, I don't know. But on the 23rd at 11 o'clock, 11:20 in the morning, they were out there cleaning it up. So technically, in reality terms, when I get an eviction notice and you can't count the day of service, they didn't even give me 3 full business days. Because my date of service was the 18th of March. Can't count the weekend, Monday, Tuesday, and at 11 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, they're there cleaning it up.
Okay. That's what I knew.
For,
Thank you.
$160. So does that answer you?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Could we have the Jill, or could we reply to that time period again? This is one of the things that the Multi-Housing Association was very concerned about, was with these quick notices.
Sure. We sent out a notice of violation to both the property owner as well as the property tenant on March 17th, which was Thursday, and it was on March 23rd that we did, that the cleanup was completed. There was also a 14-day notice for additional items, so Sheila is correct in that we did have, in addition to the 3-day notice for the litter and garbage, a 14-day notice for various items as well.
So you sent it out on the 17th. There was a cleanup on the 22nd.
23rd.
23rd? So within 4 days. And that was something earlier we talked about, or was stated, that you weren't going to be out there in 4 days to do something like this. Is this something?
This was a 3-day notice.
I didn't see any dead animals or anything like that.
Garbage is included in that 3-day notice.
Councilor Brown.
I think we're losing perspective here. I wouldn't want to have to live next to that for 3-4 days. I'm going to move approval.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Brown's made a motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Councilor Brown, can I ask you, were you going to exclude item 5 and item 15?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That
Thank you,
was my
Councilor Brown.
intent.
Thank you. And Councilor Erpenbach,
My
you
second
okay with that as
included
well?
those,
Thank you.
yes. Could I ask one question?
Councilor Erpenbach.
Could, on the slides, would you show us the address 707 North Prairie Avenue? It's the first one in our roll. Just for information's sake, their bill is the same as this one we've been discussing. Okay, thank you.
Council, there has been a motion made. Councilor Jameson.
I'd just like to add, there's the inefficiency and or the challenge at hand here, but I think there's when a violation of a ordinance like this, and the health department is involved, and public health is involved, so to speak, and the safety of our citizens, certainly some don't rise to others, but I still think it's important that the city be involved to clearly correct the situation. And I think there's a challenge if we did leave it up to a more efficient approach by having a private contractor do it, that safety would be lost knowing that the project or the property was cleaned to the city's standard. And even though it may seem efficient with a couple of these in front of us, I think there's opportunity for us to maybe work on a new way of doing things, but I think we still have to have the city be the final guy that says, yes, that property is clean and it's safe. So I think we should encourage us to talk further about ways to improve this plan and the way this is enforced on the road, but to create better efficiencies. But tonight, the issue at hand is, I think, correct. We should approve.
Councilor Gibson, thank you. Yes, Councilor Rolfe.
I would like to just ask a question. Jill, you're the department that discovers this, gets a call on it, correct?
Correct.
Could there be something worked out between your two departments that says, for efficiency purposes, says this is a one-man project, this is a two-man project, or something like that, so that you're not running somebody out there to now assess it again to say, I need to send 3 people? And it's clear in this situation that your man probably made a mistake in sending another 2 people out there. I think that would be a wonderful thing that would save the city a lot of money, not a lot of money, but would be a clear way to save some money for everybody, and would be a good way for you two to work together on this. Your people can obviously make that assessment very quickly and say, 17 minutes is not a 3-man project, and we don't need to have somebody come out and make another assessment on this one, right?
Sure. And
Okay.
since I think as I've come up here tonight, I've been neglecting to say Jill Franken, Health Director, I'll say it now. But certainly, Councilor Rolfing, that is something that Mark Cotter and I have actually had conversation about, and we're working on between our departments, some policy and procedure around that to increase efficiency and effectiveness. So.
Good. Could you put up the bill again for me on this one? Seeing as how this was a one-man project, I would like to move that we strike the $44 from the bill on this one and make it, what would that be then? Instead of $160, it would be $106. Come on, somebody do the math for me. 112.
Second, Karski.
Even the supervisor could have handled that one by himself.
And Councilor Rolfing, could you just verify the cleanup address, please? Is it 1319 North Main?
Yes. Is that right? 1319 North Main.
Very
I
good.
believe.
There has
Right.
been a motion to amend this item to change the dollar amount for the property at 13 North Main Avenue to 100 and what was it? $112. And there was a second as well. Any further discussion? Yes, Councilor Mudd.
Question of the motion maker then. If you're taking off the laborer, are you also going to take off the pickup that he drove there?
No, we still needed to drive the pickup there to get the garbage out.
They drove 2 pickups, right?
We'll just take the labor off.
Okay.
Yes, Councilor Aguilar.
So you're asking to deduct $44? That would be $116.
I stand corrected. 22 hours, or 116?
My math wasn't very
Yeah,
good.
116 then, I'm sorry, you're right.
Councilor Karski, are you comfortable changing the amount to 116?
Yes, I am.
Councilor Rolfing, you are as well? Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this item? We do have an amendment. We're voting on that, please.
Council members Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Entman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
That's passed 8-0. Council, any more amendments? Roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Entman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 12.
Item 12 is a resolution approving the special assessment role for repair or demolition of real property in various areas in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Good evening, Ron Bell with Building Services. What's being proposed is assessments for 2 properties where the city hired contractors to actually secure the properties. Before we get into that, I'd like to make a statement about last year. Last year we had 20 different notice of orders of 20 different properties, some as large as the Oaks, some as difficult as Gigglebees and so forth. Of all those 20 properties, the property owners stepped up, hired contractors to abate those properties on their own. So you're seeing no assessments from those major types of issues that we had. But what you have in front of you is two properties, one at 1111 North Duluth Avenue, which is a single-family dwelling that was vacated and vandalized. The windows were broken out. We go through a notice and order process that is defined through our property maintenance code that gives the property owners or the mortgage holders notice to go out and abate the type of nuisance of open structure. The other one is 2709 South Carolyn Avenue, which was the Timothy House of Hope property, where there was a series of I believe about 5 different buildings where the windows have been broken out and vacated, and we finally had to give notice to require the contractors to go in and secure the properties. We had a real bad lesson on open structures, and that was on the Gigglebees block on South Minnesota, where people were in there and caused the fire within the structure. So we take these very, very seriously. With that, I'll take any questions.
Mr. Bell, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this item? Council, any questions of Mr. Bell or motions?
Move to approve, Anderson.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve item number 12, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. If there's no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
That's passed 8-0. Item 13.
Item 13 is a resolution approving the special assessment role for the mowing of weeds and grasses in various areas in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Good evening, Kevin Smith with Planning and Building Services. We are in a bit of a transition between parks and planning and building services with the weed program. So anyone who would be in the audience that received an assessment for 2010, I just please ask them to state that so we know that Dwayne Stahl can represent parks. Anything in 2011 has been issued by our department. Very briefly, our process is we receive a complaint. We have a part-time employee, Mark Thompson, who's been with the city for the last few summers, who also has a background in lawn care and is very, very fastidious. So when we receive a complaint, Mark goes out to see if there's a violation. If there is, he takes a photograph of it. We send a letter out that's generated from our code enforcement software. Generally, folks are given 7 days to cure the problem, correct whatever it was, whether it's thistles or grass. If they choose not to, then we have a contractor, one of 3 contractors, go out on the property. The contractors bill at an hourly rate. We don't specify what type of mowing equipment they use because we understand that our commercial contractor generally is going to be out in undeveloped areas. The residential contractor may be using things like hand-operated weed whackers and things like that. So we just bid this at an hourly rate. And the worst case we saw this summer, at least in my experience, has been at a former hotel site where even the contractor couldn't get equipment out there and had to do the work by hand, and that bill is going to be in the several hundreds of dollars. But for those of you that were in on some of the email exchanges, you understand we take great efforts to allow people to do the right thing. We don't want to issue citations. We don't want to mow these lawns. We do try and find the property owners, but as required by city ordinance, we publish this public notice twice, once the last week of April and once the first week of May. And this is the city's authority to go in and abate weed and grass complaints. The letters we send out are a courtesy. They're not required by ordinance, but we do feel it's appropriate to give people ample opportunity to correct the problem. And when they need additional time, we'll certainly offer that. But there is part of me that says if you've lived or owned property in the city of Sioux Falls for any length of time, this is nothing new. The grass and the weeds grow in the spring, and nobody wants to live next to garbage and waste. Likewise, no one wants to live next to tall weeds and grass. So this is a letter that's generated by our code enforcement software, And again, we do our best to find the responsible parties or responsible party when this goes out. And as you can tell, this is one of the more egregious examples of a lawn in Sioux Falls that is entirely thistles. This is another one where I guess the irony here is that you can barely see the lawnmower that's surrounded by weeds. Again, more weeds in the backyard. This is literally backyard of nothing but Canadian thistles. Now, these don't have to be 8 inches high. These just need to be handled. So we have spent a lot of time this summer. We have a spraying contractor in addition to mowing contractors, and the bills, I would say, generally run in the $150 to $200 range, because once a crew or they have to be mobilized to go to one of these properties, this is not a 17-minute cleanup. This is going to take some time, and they'll probably be back again. This one I put up, or the staff provided, to give you some perspective. The property on the right, as you can tell, is neatly mowed. The property on the left that was in violation is obvious. We don't go out with a ruler, but as I can attest from having gone to some of these properties, it's obvious when we're out there that a violation exists. Again, property on the left has been mowed, property on the right has been mowed. Property on the left is, it's been growing like that for a while. Another example there. A lot of these are foreclosed properties. They're in the hands of mortgage companies that don't do business in South Dakota, and they could probably care less. Some of these are not. Some of these you would never guess unless you looked over the fence that the backyard looks like this. Some properties mow the front, but they don't mow the back, which is why in some of the letters that go out, we try and be specific in what needs to be done with these properties. More thistles, more grass. And in terms of where are we this year versus years past, and this is only through July. We've already done almost 1,100 inspections with over 800 violations. And it's looking somewhere between 25 and 30% of the violators do not mow the properties themselves. We spend, I would say, around $30,000 a year on the contractors. Now, that's entirely pass-through money. By the time an assessment is set against a property, we have already paid the contractor to go do the work. We're trying to recoup those costs. We don't surcharge anyone, although there is the $100 citation that goes along with any ordinance or any nuisance violation. But we're not, as someone sort of implied earlier, we're not making money on this. That we are simply charging what the contractor has charged us already to do the work. And if the trend continues, as you can see, we'll easily surpass, I think, 1,200 violations, and hopefully people have gotten the message by now that if you don't clean it up, we will. We have done everything we can in terms of reaching out to the media, reaching out to the Multi-Housing Association, basically anyone who would listen, including Councilor Karski at an Inside Town Hall session on the need for property maintenance, including weed and grass control. So with that, I'll take any questions or if there's anything from the audience as well.
Kevin, thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this item? Sir? And sir, if you could state your name as well as your property.
Good evening. My name is Suleiman Ahmed, and Suleiman Ahmed.
Yes, sir.
I came to this city 10 years ago as a refugee, and I love it so much. So I have a house with Wells Fargo, and this is my problem, because to have a house here is really a big problem, because every year sometimes I have problem with my sidewalks, because I have two sidewalks between Brookings and
Sir, I apologize. Could you just state your address of your property, please? And then
11.
What we'll do is we'll pull that up.
Yeah,
then
11.
the council will have a good indication of what we're talking about here.
1121 North Kiwanis Avenue.
And did you get that? Yes, very good. Thank you. Sir, please continue.
Yeah, so I have two sidewalks, one in Brookings and the other one in Kiwanis. So sometimes, especially during the winters, when the snow, I have to remove, I have a wall, like, I think Dwayne knows this. I think I have a wall, like that one. So when I have snow, it is, and the guys that blow the snow, I have a lot of trouble to take it out. So this year also I have problem with my grass, and my problem is that, or this is not a problem, really I supposed to have a machine, but running after work or running after problem with our country there in Sudan, so we forget, or sometimes we got a message from Dwayne in the other side of the door, which I don't use it. So I feel in this trouble. But the last time when I have this problem, Dwayne sent a contractor, and the contractor sent his guys to my property. And when they are trying to mow the grass, I told them I already mowed it, so you don't need it. Let me call Dwayne. No, they said no, we have to do it by force. So they called for me the police, and really I was scared. So they did the job, and unfortunately, because they got mad from me, they cut my flowers. In fact, we are very primitive people. We don't care about things. But this time, I am trying to make a little garden with flowers. But the contractors, his name was Chuck. His guys, they cut my flowers. So I talked to Dwayne and I talked to Chuck himself. I told him, hey, Chuck, your guys, they came, they forced me to cut the grass and they damaged my flowers. And he said, okay, we'll have a deal. I said, yeah. So I talked to him the first time. The next time, he never talked to me. In fact, he came and he saw the flowers, which his guys, because they got mad from me, because at the time I told them you're supposed not to call the police for me, and la. So they cut the flowers, and I talked to Dwayne. I said, Dwayne, talk to this Chuck, because I think I will not pay for someone who damaged my flowers, the 100. And I respect the job that going by the city ordinance to clean the city or for the snow or anything, but sometimes we cannot do the job in the right way. Thank you. Nice people.
Very good, sir. And if I could just maybe just kind of repeat what you've spoken to the council about. Number one, you believe that you cut the grass and then the contractor came later and cut it again. And then also at the time when that contractor cut it, you're saying they also cut your flowers.
Yeah.
Okay. And thank you.
Yeah, I
Dwayne,
said I called
sir,
Dwayne.
that's good. Thank you.
Oh.
Dwayne, is there any, could you verify or dispute any of this that this gentleman's talked about tonight?
I'll try to do that.
Thank you.
We took a complaint on this property August 24th, and we're not, this property is familiar to us from past history. We verified that the property was in the condition that you see there. We sent our notice, that our standard notice that Kevin referred to, asking the property to be mowed by the 25th of August. And we came back, did a reinspection, found the property was still in disarray. So we called the contractor, and this contractor is a lawn company, and they know what ornamental plants are, and they would respect that. But when you get to a property that's not being cared for, it's very difficult at times to know where maybe there are some plantings that aren't very obvious. They did mow it. I asked them, and I believe when they told me that they did mow it, in fact, I did go back to this property and look at it myself and felt it wasn't good enough, and I had them go back and redo it. We do follow-ups on some of our mowings, and if they're not doing what we're paying them to do, I send them back. And so they did go back and address this property again, no extra charge. So basically, there are three things that I look for in an assessment. One is, was there need 2, did we contact or did we notify the proper ownership? And 3, did we actually pay the contractor to do a service? We met all 3 of those, so I recommend that you uphold this invoice.
Dwayne, thank you. And Dwayne, was this gentleman given a notice to mow his lawn at a prior date? You had mentioned that you were well aware of this property from prior things.
From previous years.
From previous years.
We've been to this property before.
Previous years, but not previous instances this year.
Not this.
Very
not-
good. And then when the gentleman said his flowers were mowed down, was that the first time or was that the second time when you had the people come back?
I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you. Very good, very good. Council, or is there anyone else who'd like to speak to this particular item? Very good. Council, any comments or questions? Yes, Councilor Jameson.
Do we have an after shot after it's been cut?
Councilor Jameson, that question again was what?
Okay. Candy in my mouth.
No,
Sorry,
no,
sir.
my apologies. I should have listened better.
The question was whether or not there was a picture of the finished.
Oh, an after shot. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, Councilor Jameson. The question was by Councilor, do you have an after shot after, or picture shot after it was taken? Dwayne?
No, we don't. We have a photo documentation of need is what we do the photos for.
Thank you. Great job. Yes, Councilor Karski.
What was the invoice on this one?
The invoice is in the amount of $127.50.
Now, did we mow the entire lawn or just this edge?
The entire lawn.
The entire lawn was
Yes.
mowed. Okay, I was looking at this, thinking it was just the edge that was mowed.
No.
Okay.
Sir, come forward, please. There's no resolution yet, or no. Sir, just come forward.
I need sometimes, and at that time, this is not the real areas that they mowed, because at that time I did mow it with my friend, and I called Dwayne. I told him my problem is I don't have that trimmer for the corners. I don't know what they call it. This nearby the fence, but this is not the real thing that the contractors mow. I already mow it. Even sometimes I do it with my hand, but I couldn't mow the place nearby the fence. And
Sir, when
I remember sometimes I have some pictures. I can bring it.
Right.
This is the contractor. When they came, they didn't mow this thing. This thing I already mowed it.
Sir, when the contractor came back, that first time or that second time, and as Dwayne said, did you feel that the contractor though mowed the entire yard?
I told Dwayne at that time. I told him, Dwayne, I mow all my grass. My problem, I couldn't reach the fence where you can see the fence, right?
Yes, sir.
I don't have that
Right.
to go through it.
Weed trimmer.
So sometimes I trim it with the scissors, and I told him this is my problem. And I don't know, Dwayne, he said the contractors cut this.
Very good.
Because
Very
I
good.
talked to him twice.
Very good. Thank you very much. Very good. Council, any further questions? Would anybody like to make a motion?
Mayor, I move approval on item 13.
Second Aguilar.
There's been a motion to approve item number 13, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Sir, after the motion's made, then I apologize. The public comment's over. Is there any further comments or questions? A roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 14.
Item 14.
Sir,
I should have talked the same time. Could I just say a couple words?
sure. And just for the people of Sioux Falls to understand is that once the council has made a motion, that's why I go to the public and the audience so often to see if there's any further questions or comments before I get the motion. I've attempted that on numerous occasions tonight. This gentleman would like an opportunity to speak. The council, if you wouldn't mind, we'll allow this gentleman an opportunity to speak.
I'm
Please.
sorry, Your Honor.
No.
I was.
Welcome. If you could just
wasn't
state your
thinking.
name,
I thought you were doing each item. See, when he. But anyway, my name is Ray Larson.
Mr. Larson, welcome.
And the property I'm talking about is 1800 West 41st Street.
Okay.
And I mowed the property, and after I mowed it, first of all, when I started, I cleaned up all kinds of rubbish, and then I mowed the property 3, 4 times, 5, 6 times maybe, every week and a half. And then I understand my son owns the property. He has Larson Auto World, and he got a bill for $297 on the on it afterwards. And I talked to Dwayne, and Dwayne said he had a picture of the property, and I'd like to see the picture because I did mow it.
Ms. Larson, thank you.
That's okay. That is, I've mowed that. It's been mowed there, right, Dwayne? On that picture? Pardon me? Yes, but up there, okay, yeah. And I weed whacked that up there around. That's John's Shoe Repair, and I weed whacked that, and there too. See, but there was all kinds of rocks in there and debris. It was just a terrible mess, and I could not get that done. But I did mow, and around the building now. I know I talked to Dwayne 3 days ago, and he said that there was people living in the houses, and there was not. All 3 properties were vacant. And I don't know, for some reason, after I mowed this, they got another guy in here to mow it, and I don't know why, because I did mow it. But we waited for a contractor to tear all these buildings down, and if that's when it happened, because we were waiting for the contractor, I do not know. I just didn't feel that I mean, after all, I was the one that did the mowing. So.
Dwayne, any comments before Mr. Larson?
This area involved 3 properties along 41st Street between Hawthorne and Glendale. All 3 properties were a violation. A complaint was waged on them, and we inspected the 3 properties. They were all in violation. The second property that you see up here is 3316 South Hawthorne. Glendale, excuse me. 3313 South Glendale. And then the third property was 3316 South Hawthorne. And similar type, it just wasn't, the effort wasn't there to do a complete job. And this is in a residential area, also along 41st Street, where a lot of people go by every day.
That house was vacant.
That's okay.
That house was vacant. And around there was all kinds of debris and rocks and everything around there. Look, people had thrown everything around there.
Yes. Sometimes it's an inviting hazard, but
Dwayne and
it
Mr.
doesn't
Larson, we do thank you for this. Mr. Larson, again, I highly commend you for attempting to clean it up, and certainly I know the council commends you as well. However, in the spirit of what we're trying to do is to try to be as neighborly as possible, and that includes the entire yard. whether it be the debris, whether it be the rocks, whether it be the weeds, whether it be the grass. Obviously, you made an attempt, but in terms of it meeting the standard that has been set by the City of Sioux Falls, by the Council of Sioux Falls, it just didn't meet that standard, and that's why these properties were indeed billed. But thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
We do appreciate it. And anything you can do to help keep it maintained, we'd appreciate it.
This year, we have the property, and I sprayed Roundup all over. There are no buildings on the property. And last Saturday, I mowed the whole thing, and so I'm real sorry. We'll do a lot better.
Ms. Larson, thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Item number 14.
Item 14 is a resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of members to certain citizen boards.
Thank you. Would you mind reading the names of the people and the boards that they are going to be part of?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
For the Public Parking Advisory Board, Hugh Dodson. The rest of these are for the Affordable Housing Advisory Board, Loretta Paganini, Vicki Kirkfeld, Langu Okal, Sean Pritchett, Deborah Metzger, Gayleen Riedemann, John Carroll, Jeffrey Kogel, and Aaron Reitzma.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this item? Council, any comments or?
Move approval.
Councilor Urbanbach made a motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Any further discussion? Vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 16.
Item 16 is on the other page. Item 16 is a resolution authorizing the City of Sioux Falls to gift to the City of Montrose a 1999 Dodge Caravan minivan.
Good evening, Darren Smith, Director of Community Development. This is a surplus vehicle the Washington Pavilion has been using, and again, the city has seen fit, the City of Sioux Falls has seen fit to surplus it. And at the same time, the City of Montrose has made a request for this specific vehicle off our surplus property list. It's a 99 Dodge Caravan, and it's seen the end of its time, with us anyway.
Mr. Smith, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this item? Yes, sir, welcome.
My name is Ron Shelby. I'm the mayor of Montrose.
Welcome, Mr.
And
Shelby.
I want to thank you, Mayor and council members, for this request. And hopefully it's favorable. It's a vehicle we need and will utilize very well. I've checked it out very well, and I think it is a viable unit. So,
Well, thank you for making the effort to come here. How long have you been here tonight?
since you started.
Welcome to the City of Sioux Falls City Council meeting.
It's very enlightening. I'm glad I don't have to deal with all this. Mine's a little less stressful.
Well, Mayor, welcome on behalf of the council and behalf of the City of Sioux Falls. Welcome to our city, and it's great to have you part of this tonight. Any questions of the mayor?
Move to approve.
Yeah, I have one.
We do have a question, Councilor Rolfing.
You do know that this was originally scheduled to be the mayor's car.
I don't want to take his.
Oh, well, we decided to give it to you instead.
Okay.
Councilor Rolfing, thank you. Councilor Entenmann?
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Entenmann has made a motion to approve this for the City of Montrose, and Councilor Anderson Jr. Has seconded that. If there's no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
That is unanimously approved, Mayor. Again, thanks for being here and enjoy the new van.
Well, I thank you. It'll work in our community real well for our daycare, and we use it for our inmate program to transport. Save us about $1,000 a month.
Very good. We're glad we could help.
Thank you,
sir. Council, is there any further items on the agenda?
Move approval, Erpenbach.
There's been a motion to adjourn.
It starts with an A. Cut me some slack.
By who?
I'll second it.
By Councilor Brown.
Should we have a roll call vote, please?
Council members Rolfing.
Second.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Entenmann.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
That is passed unanimously. City of Sioux Falls, this meeting of the Sioux Falls City Council is adjourned. Make it a great night.